Welcome to the Nothing Much Just Chillin' Show with your hosts Emma and Julio. Nothing much, just chillin' show. Nothing much, just a chillin'.
Welcome back to NMJC, or welcome if you're new here. I'm Emma, and this is my podcast called Nothing Much Just Chillin', where we chill. And today, I have a very special guest chilling with me, Mr. Ben Kalra. He's a fan of the podcast.
Hey everybody, I'm Ben. And yeah, I'm a fan. And of course, Emma is a friend of mine, and so that's really I saw that you created this podcast. I was like, that's worth a listen. I'll listen to any podcast that a friend of mine creates. And I think there's two categories of podcasts. There's the first category where you want to get something out of it. It's educational in some way, whether it's toward your field or your craft or self-help.
Yeah.
And then there's the other category of podcasts where
you get nothing out of it.
You don't, or at least you're not seeking anything out of it, where there's no oh, I missed that, let me rewind and catch that again. It's no, I just want someone to talk to me straight through, and it lives up to the name of being a chill space. And so I think in the latter category of podcasts, NMJC is top of the line. You hold it down for the people who just need some understimulating content.
Yes, some passive listening.
No background music. The volume is quiet. It sounds like your podcast was mastered at a quieter volume almost. There's no ads. It's
there's no ads. Oh my God, that's a big thing. Yeah.
I mean, we'll see. The big sponsors might come one day,
I hope so. I hope there's ads one day, but it does really give me pleasure when I listen to a podcast with no ads. For myself, I really love that. But I get exactly what you are saying. I have my podcast that I go to because I'm trying to learn something, and then I have my podcast that I'm just I don't have to, like you said, if I miss something, it's okay. It's not I don't need to. It's bubble gum, really. Have you ever heard of that term to describe music? It's bubble gum pop. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's you could listen to your your conscious rap, your Kendrick Lamar or what have you, but sometimes you just want a trap beat and some smooth lyrics that you don't necessarily take in and analyze, but it sounds smooth and it just feels good. It's the bubble gum, right?
Right.
Yeah. All right. So what is your favorite? Give me your favorite podcast in either category. Your favorite podcast that you get something out of, whether it's for yourself educationally or maybe for photography or creative pursuits, and then one podcast that you love that's truly just for the vibes. You're not seeking anything. You just want to be there and be a part of the energy.
Okay, I got this. My favorite podcast to get something out of is a podcast by this girl. She's an influencer. Her name's Peyton Sartan. I feel like I'm saying her name wrong. It sounds wrong when I say it. Or it's Peyton Sartan, I think. Anyways, she has a podcast called Note to Self. And she's just always sharing just tips about, I don't know, beauty or life or motivation, stuff like that. That is just really inspiring to listen to when I'm out on a walk, because her podcast will be how to get out of a rut, how to find yourself, stuff like that, where I'm getting a lot from this. This is making me a happier, more positive, wanting to get better person. Have you ever heard of that podcast? Probably not.
I think it sounds familiar. I may have heard of it. I may have listened to an episode or two.
Oh, really?
But I can't remember,
yeah. It's okay.
I can't remember. I'm a little bit of a connoisseur of podcasts sometimes, in that I don't just have a couple. I have a few that I listen to a lot.
Yes. Yes.
In each category. And then I have I'm open to listening to a random episode of a random podcast sometimes. So I'll see the ones that are more well known.
Yeah.
And I also I choose podcasts also based on the guests too. So sometimes I'm not pursuing the same host, but I'm pursuing there's someone who I'm interested in hearing more from. So I search their name, and they might not have a podcast. But they might have been interviewed by a bunch of people. And so I listen to those, which exposes me to different podcasters, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right. So it was Note to Self.
Note to Self.
All right, so go check out Note to Self. Shout out Peyton.
Yes.
And then
Love her.
second category, what's your favorite?
I've met her actually. She lived down the street from me in downtown, and I saw her at Whole Foods one time, and I went up to her and told her that I love the podcast.
Nice. What did she say?
She was so nice. She was like, "Oh my god, like that's so sweet." And, you know, she was really nice.
Cool.
Okay. So this is funny because my podcast that I listen to for just like vibes and like to laugh, I guess that is like a purpose, but I don't know.
But it's not like, you know, that's a purpose, but it's not like you trying to get like something specific out of it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. But yeah, my favorite podcast in that category is this is merch from the podcast actually. This sweatshirt, it's called Brooke and Connor Make a Podcast, and it's on TMG Studios. It's with Brooke Averick and Connor Wood, and they're both comedians. Connor actually like does stand up, but Brooke doesn't, but she's like even funnier than him, and they're just so perfect together. Like their duo, their dynamic is just, they bounce off of each other, so like their dynamic is just so hilarious, like just naturally, and then they're hilarious. It's really something. Like I really encourage everybody to listen to it because it takes you on a wild ride, and you just like fall in love with them too, like in their friendship.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think number one, I think comedians make good podcasters.
Mm-hmm.
And then number two, I think like realist of the real, the fact that you're out here and you're like, the merch you have is like podcasting merch, you know? It's like you truly have a love for the game.
This is my favorite podcast.
It's a true love for the game, and that's admirable, you know?
Or actually, sorry, it's not my favorite podcast. I would say my favorite podcast is the one that employs me, which is Circle Time by Kelsey Kreppel.
Shout out Circle Time.
That's my favorite podcast.
The official sponsor of this episode.
No, literally, this one is my second favorite. But yeah.
Love it. Yeah, you know, it's so really like podcasting is no joke. There's a lot of effort that goes into it. Like I see this setup here, you know, we got all the recording stuff. We got the light up here.
Right.
And then it's time to record and edit. And I know you're not getting paid for this, right?
Right.
So it's truly for the love of the game.
Yeah,
you know?
I know, which is why I miss a lot of weeks because I'm too busy working.
Right, yeah.
What's in front of Ben right now is banana bread that I've made. And we're going to have a live taste test of my banana bread, and I've already told him that I forgot to put baking powder in it, which is so stupid of me, but hopefully it's okay. But it's probably like really moist.
All right, I'm going for it. I'm just gonna go for the corner.
Good choice.
Should I hold the mic up as I chew, or is that too much ASMR? Is that too intimate?
That's probably maybe too much ASMR. If you hate it, it's fine.
It's very delicious.
It's got chocolate chips in there too. It's chocolate chip banana bread, not just banana bread.
I do appreciate a chocolate chip in a banana bread.
Thank you. Oh my God. I have some people in my family that don't like chocolate chips and banana breads. So I have to make one without chocolate chips and one with chocolate chips to appease everybody.
I think the chocolate brings out the banana. And I also think I'm also a fan of like nuts being in there as long as people are not allergic.
Oh,
you
you want it all. Wow.
Yeah, you know, I'm open-minded, I guess you could say.
You're so adventurous.
Right. Totally. No, it's very delicious. And I think the most important thing, I just do not like dry food. You know, I don't like food where I'm like, I need like a whole glass of water afterwards. So it's a hydrated banana bread, which I respect. And it's not just like a couple chocolate chips. They're kind of like loaded up in there. And I appreciate that as well. Like, you know, you're like, why just like tease like that like, you know, it's a really sweet, decadent banana bread.
If you're
Just
going to
go
put
for
it in there, just
know?
go for it. Just
go
make
for
it decadent. Yeah. Oh my God. I love that.
Yeah, very good, you know.
I'm glad you like it. Yeah, I'm glad that at least taste-wise it came out good if it didn't, you know, rise right. But I've been making that banana bread recipe for the past, I don't know, I think like 8 years. And it's different every single time. Well, also we don't have to pull this up, but our oven is broken. So I never really know like what temperature it is. So it's kind of like
I
a
love
guess and
that.
check.
I love that you're just like, the oven's on, you know? We're just gonna put it in there and see what happens. Yeah, just stand there and watch, you know?
I, yeah, I mean,
Respect.
yeah.
Respect. Honestly, that oven has
It's a
character, and a
process.
lot of
It
people would
does.
probably just fix it, but the fact that you're sticking with it, I think is also a testament to, you know,
The love.
that's just, yeah.
The love of making things. Yeah. I love how it's been this far along in the episode. What has been 13 minutes?
13
And
minutes.
I haven't said like what you do.
Yeah, we kind of
But we're gonna
immediate
switch.
rebel.
We're gonna switch to that now. Keep enjoying your banana bread as you wish.
I certainly will.
Ben is actually a photographer as well, and he's a yoga teacher. But we are both photographers. And I wanted to ask you because I don't think we have ever talked about this, but which is surprising because we've talked a lot about photography. Like you've like been just will text me and be like, "Hey, can we FaceTime soon? I have a couple questions about photography," and we FaceTime, and you have all your questions. You know exactly what you're gonna ask me, and it's so impressive. And they're all like really good questions every single time. But it's cool for me to like have somebody like value my advice or my opinions on things and just like what I think about photography in general. And it's cool to be able to talk about it because I don't talk about it a lot. I feel like talking to you made me realize more of like I really like having photographer friends, and I have some now, and it's really cool to bond with people that way because it's not only a job or one of our jobs, it's a passion. And I want to know like when did you first, like, do you remember the picture you took, or if there was a picture where you took and you were like, wow, like I want to do this like for real?
Well, you know, first of all, let me just say that I'm a fan of being a fan of your friends. Like, I think I really
Same.
value the friends that I feel like I'm a fan of. And that's why I've like made the extra effort to stay in touch with you, Emma, even though I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. You live here in LA. And, you know, it would have been very easy for like our friendship to fizzle. You know, we were like medium close at times,
Right.
you know, but I've always just had a real respect for your photography and your artistry. What was the question? Like, how did I get into photography?
Basically, but
Okay.
if there was like a specific like one photo that you took and you were like, oh my God, I want to do this as like a job. Like I think I can be really good at this, and like this just excited me.
Yeah, honestly, no. But how it kind of worked for me is that in 2017, I was a junior in college, and I bought my friend's used Nikon D3300, just like, you know, a little $300 crop sensor DSLR.
Perfect.
And I was doing a semester abroad, studying at the University of Amsterdam at the time. And I took that camera and just brought it everywhere and took photos all the time. And it became a way for me to explore new cities and new
Yes.
places. And
Oh, yeah.
it really brought a lot of mindfulness into my life. It gave me a creative pursuit. It gave me like a really interesting way to spend time alone. And then I carried photography as a hobby / passion for several years after that. And it was probably in around 2021 where I began trying to pursue photography as more than just a hobby or a passion. I began, honestly, the way it started is I would take photos occasionally for friends, like either unpaid or like for coffee or whatever. Because I was still like in 2021 using that same Nikon that I bought for my friend for like $250
Yeah.
during that semester abroad with the kit lens, you know.
But you were
Then-
still doing amazing work with it. Like it's really not about the gear. It's about
it's not.
about the eye.
Yeah, it's only a little bit about the gear.
Exactly.
But then I actually made a listing on Airbnb experiences where I would, and this was when Airbnb experiences was more so just on the come up. Like there was really only a few in Charlotte.
Yeah.
And so it was a photo and mural tour through uptown Charlotte. And so I would meet these random ass people who would book me at a coffee shop near my apartment. And then we would grab a coffee, and then we'd walk around the city to all the murals, and I would take portraits of them basically. And they would book me, and I would just meet all these random people. And, you know, I didn't have to be the best photographer in the world because it was more about the experience of seeing the murals and getting some pictures to document that. But over the course of that, I all of a sudden was taking a lot of photos. And then you know, a lot of people were booking me one year, and I did like hundreds of these things in over the
That
course
is
of like a year.
amazing, Ben.
And then
That
all
you
of a
were so
sudden-
smart. Like that is
It's crazy,
I
right?
need to do that.
It's crazy. I mean, I don't even do it anymore because now there's like a lot of people on there, and it's like you don't really make a lot of money. So I was okay
okay.
with hustling, and I was doing these. People were booking me,
You got in early. You got
Yeah.
into it early.
and at first, like people were booking me for $19 a person for the tour. Then it would like I just kept raising it, you know, kept raising it. But then eventually I had a portfolio all of a sudden from
Yeah.
these random people who would book me on Airbnb experiences. I could make a portfolio from that.
Yeah.
So I started the Instagram page. I like made a website shortly after, and then I just started shooting more and more. And then I really like, as 2021 turned to 2022, just really started taking it so seriously, learning everything I could, just always shooting, always editing, always learning, you know, via YouTube, via podcast, via anything I could. But I already had the experience of photography as a hobby, but now I was like diving into it like, okay, how do I actually become great? Like
Yeah.
I'm maybe good at this thing.
You
How
were
do you
like,
become
let me
great
take
at something?
yeah,
Like
let,
you
let
just
me
do
take
it. You
seriously.
just really dive into it, and
Yeah.
you do it all the time, and you see growth from people who are more experienced than you. And of the people, there's so many amazing photographers out there. Of the people I know personally, you are my favorite photographer. And that's why like I'm a fan of yours, because so many photographers I'm a fan of, but like I said, of the people I actually would call a friend, you are my favorite photographer. Like I look around the apartment, the photos you got up are beautiful. And then I love portrait photography. I do a lot of different types of stuff. I'm here photographing a yoga training in LA is what brought me here, but portraits is like my passion. It's my bread and butter, I suppose you could say. It's what I think is the most beautiful. It's when I feel like I'm producing the most beautiful work.
Yeah.
And I love your composition of portraits. And
Thank you.
I feel like a lot of the portraits you take are so artful, and they're done with a wider angle lens, which I think is difficult to do compared to just like a really punched in portrait lens. You can kind of make anything look decent enough.
Right.
Yeah, and I also do try to like consciously seek out inspiration from female artists as well, because I also work with a lot of women.
Yeah.
So I heard someone say, it might have been you honestly on a podcast, like you can tell when you see a picture if a man or a woman took it. And I was like, that's not gonna be me though. Like that's just not gonna be me. Like I don't want anyone to look at my photos and be like, a man took that, you know? Like that is not the idea.
Yes. Oh my god, I love that.
Yeah, that's why I've like reached out to I've like
You- yeah,
legitimately reached out to Emma, and like I ask her questions, I pick her brain, because like I said, I respect her art, and there's also like the familiarity between us where it's like casual and I'm comfortable to just ask whatever.
And you know how open I am.
Exactly.
Like I can't lie, and I just like can't like oversay the truth. You know what I mean? Thank you for that. You're so sweet. And I am so, oh my God, that made me so, I'm so touched. Thank you. But you're right. I wouldn't look at your photos and say, a man took this. I love your photography, and it's so I mean, especially the pictures that you took in India were so vibrant and so like you got just like so much depth to them, you know? And I want to hear a little bit about your experience photographing in India, because it's a place that I've never been, so I don't really know it even culturally very well. And then because I am a quite shy person. I don't really like going up to strangers and saying like, hey, like, do you mind if I get a picture of you? And it seems like you were just taking a lot of just like people it basically felt like you took beautiful pictures just like throughout your day of the scenes that you saw and the people. And yeah, I want to hear your experience.
Thank you for asking. Yeah, so India. Yeah, so I traveled to India this year. It's currently April. I was there for about a month from January through February. And I have a lot of family in India. My whole father's side of the family is Indian. And so I was staying with my grandmother, and the majority of my family lives in New Delhi. And I set about half of the trip aside to spend with my grandma and family. And then I had half of the trip where, I'm a yoga teacher, is my other profession and life passion as well, in addition to photography. And so the other half of the trip, I was traveling more up north into the Himalayas and doing some studying of yoga and meditation. And of course, the whole time I had my camera on me, and I had this intention going into India of I'm just gonna document how I can what I'm witnessing, what I'm experiencing, and I had this idea in the back of my mind of if the work is to a certain standard, and I think I'll know within the first week there, I might make a book, of the photos. After my first 3 days, I was like, the book's happening. The book needs to happen because I was getting photos that I considered to be great. And I'm very, I think we're all hard on our work to a certain extent because we hold ourselves to the highest standard. But
it was right off the bat where you were like, this is inspiring me, and I'm like doing some of my best work right now.
Yeah, these are some of the best photos I've ever taken from a street photography perspective. And so I was the first leg of the trip was in Delhi, and a lot of the photos that I took and a lot of photos that will be in the book are from the very busy streets of New Delhi. And it's hard to really describe. That's why I was like, I don't really feel like I need to write about this or speak about this, but I would love to share it. I would love people to just see with their own eyes. And as a portrait photographer who, I guess I started in more street photography, but as a primarily portrait photographer, I really love the portrait genre of street photography. So taking portraits of people on the street.
Candidly.
And most of that is, perhaps just from a distance. They're not looking, they're just doing whatever they're doing. And some of that is like going up to people or having an interaction or, buying something from someone who's selling something on the side of the street and then asking for can I take a portrait of you? It's a blend of both, but there was such humanity in the photos I saw, and some of it sure might have been because of me and what I do, but a lot of it was really just me capturing what was already happening there on an every single day basis. And I just want to share that because I think some people have a perception of India, some people don't, but this is exactly what I saw.
Yeah.
And so this is how I can tell it to you.
Yeah.
And so it was a beautiful experience taking photos in there. And once I decided that the book was happening, I was like, all right, well, now we're prioritizing photography. And now I'm going to even more so try to tell stories through photos, which I think allowed me a fuller experience of India itself because I had more motivation to get out there and to speak people, even if we didn't speak the same language, because I don't really have any Hindi in my bag. And a lot of places I was in India, and people didn't really have English in their bag because in northern India, a lot of the times it's only the educated that have a good English speaking skill. And so there's a lot of times I was interacting with people and I wanted to take portraits of them, but we don't speak the same language. But there's some sort of communication that can be had. They see the camera, they see my genuine intentions, they see that I'm not just, I don't know, I like to think that I'm not just a tourist that's out there just trying to take pictures for the show of it. Like I really want people to look at a photo of that person and think, what is their story? What are the thoughts going through their mind right now? And I feel like the eyes are the portal to that. And so one constant theme throughout the book is you'll look into a lot of people's eyes, which I think is potent.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love that. Wow. You just described that so beautifully. That is you're so good you're just so creative. You can just really tell that you are just you always are trying to find a way to be your most creative self. Let that energy flow through you in just a positive way. So that's really cool that you just were like, okay, now I'm going to take this seriously and treat it as such. And I'm so excited about your book. That is going to be amazing to see. And what you were saying, you want people to see for their own eyes and or the eyes of the person in the photo. What you forgot to say is through your eyes. It's your vision, really. It was just your capture of what was right in front of you in a way that like only you could tell. And I also feel like you probably, because your family, a lot of your family is from there, probably felt somehow like connected to these people that you interacted with, even if you didn't speak the same language, and kind of felt like very rooted there in a way that is, well, I don't know. Have you been to India before
This was the first time since my childhood.
Oh, okay.
So it had been like 25 years.
Right. What I'm trying to say is, I think it was a beautiful thing from the universe, really. It was like a gift from the universe that you had this epiphany of like, this is what I should do during this time, during this trip. It was just such a special moment, and you took advantage of it in like the most beautiful way.
Yeah, it really was. It was a special moment, and I think this is the beauty of photos.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You said, you know, I'm so creative, and I really believe like we're all so creative, and it's like, how do we want to tap into that? There's a million different mediums to tap into that, and I feel very grateful, so grateful and indebted toward the craft of photography for giving me a medium through which to be creative.
Yes.
Because I don't know about you, but I've had stages in my life where like I've always been a creative person, but I haven't always had the mediums to let that out through, and that led to like darker times. You know, it's like it's challenging.
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel, I feel like a need to be creative.
Same.
And I feel like that's how I feel alive.
Yeah.
That's where I get my life force. And
Yeah. I totally agree.
Yeah.
I feel the same way, and I feel like when I found photography, and I just noticed like, oh wait, like I really like taking pictures. Like if I could choose between not taking pictures and taking pictures, I would choose taking pictures. Like always. I am at every event. I have a camera in my hand. At every wedding, I'm just taking pictures. Like when I'm not the photographer, like just a guest, like I'm taking pictures the whole time. And I just love like capturing things, and I just love the way I see things. It became impossible for me to ignore that, like, okay, this is what I'm meant to do, you know?
Totally. Totally. Yeah, totally. And the way photography can weave through one's life is beautiful. As you said, you take your camera everywhere. It's how you document the things that you do. And in that way, I think photography, as with any creative outlet or creative pursuit, most likely, it can weave through our lives and becomes an extension of us. You know, it's photography is the reason I'm here in LA, you know, and I had this cool moment where, you know, yoga is something that is very important in my life, and it's always a priority, you know, always studying yoga and furthering my education, furthering my training, and teaching is something that I'll do forever. And so I'm in LA, I'm taking this yoga training, learning some things from a teacher that I respect. And the reason I'm even here is through photography, because I shot my shot on a limb.
That's amazing.
Can I basically like, and I know these people sort of, but I was like, can I photograph your training in exchange for tuition? Like I will photograph, I'll do a great job. Like I'm going to come with a good, you know, great attitude. I'll contribute in the ways that I can.
Yeah.
And they, you know, I expected a no because it's like a expensive training.
Right.
You know? But they're like, we're down, come through. And so I had a very cool moment in the room yesterday where I was like, how beautiful that I'm studying yoga from a teacher that I respect, these things that's so important to me. But photography is what got me in. If it wasn't for photography, I wouldn't be able to afford coming out to LA from Charlotte and taking, you know, getting my classes covered, moving some shoots around, and coming out here, buying flights.
It's all
you know?
connected.
It's all connected. And so I'm like, how cool that this is the reason I'm
So
here. Like
cool.
what a blessing. And it made me even more grateful for photography. I think it's also, you know, photography, when it's your job, it can start to feel like work. And I'm sure, again, a lot of like musicians, like anyone who's making a job out of their passion can probably relate to that.
Right.
But I try to bring back gratitude towards it. Like every time I'm just like at a long shoot at like something I might not be the most passionate about, I remind myself to be so grateful for the fact that we can use our cameras and it can weave through our lives. And in terms of India, like it being an extension of my family, I think that was special too.
Yeah.
And that was where it really extended through my life in that way, is getting to document that experience in that way. I think my family also, the reason why the photos came out a certain way was just because often I was with my grandmother or a family member, and I'd be somewhere where I wouldn't normally be, and my grandma's a local, so she just talks to people like they're her family, and sometimes she'd be showing me a certain temple or something, and she'd be talking to the person. I'd get a portrait of that person, and so yeah, I don't know, I'm kind of going down a little bit of a rabbit hole through my mind, but
No,
I
but
think
I
it's
love
just
it.
cool, you
It's-
know.
yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's
Like, do
like
your
the love
creative
of
thing.
like documenting too.
Yeah. Whatever it is, you know, anyone listening that like you get a creative inspiration from, I think it's worth it to follow that. It doesn't matter if you make money from it or not, but I really believe any creative pursuit or passion or hobby will lead you to some interesting space to occupy, and there will always be something to get out of that. So just like do the creative thing, I think is a very powerful philosophy.
Yeah, I love that. Wow. Ben, you're like really spitting some wisdom here. Wow. Who knew? That's so amazing. So you're here just for, was it like multiple day training then?
Yes, it's 30 hours over 4 days, so Thursday
okay.
through Sunday.
Okay.
And this is a last minute trip,
Yeah.
you know, so I'm just here.
How do you like LA?
I like those. So this is my second time, and for anyone listening, I have banana bread in my mouth. I'm still eating this.
Sorry.
So
No. You can
apologize. No, I got it. Apologize, but apologies if you hear something. This is my second time in LA. The first time I didn't love it, I think, because I felt a little more like a tourist.
Yeah.
And this was like 4 years ago. But this time I feel like I'm more so just existing in LA and doing like regular people things.
Yeah.
Like going to the yoga studios.
Doing
going
what you
to,
would do at
know,
home,
exactly,
but just here.
Exactly. And because of that, I've been really enjoying it.
Oh,
like, it's
good.
a really, really chill vibe, really lots of cool people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like Venice?
I like Venice. It's
I
nice.
love Venice.
You know? It's nice. I'm certain I couldn't afford to live there. But
yeah.
But it's nice. Yeah, it's chill. Lots of good food. And it's not like, I think I had this perception of LA being like super bougie and stuff. But like,
That's Rodeo Drive. That's
Okay.
Beverly Hills. What's the like hardest thing do you think about photography?
Well, I did I'm pretty sure this is like recent, like 2 weeks ago, but I think I might have ruined a roll of film because I was trying to just unwind it, and I just like my finger pressed the little button on the bottom or whatever, and then the back flip like popped open. So
Yeah.
I might have just ruined a roll of film that like had some nice memories on it.
Oh, that's
but
so
that's
sad.
just part of the game.
It's humbling when you
game.
mess up a roll
It
of
makes
film.
you like start paying attention. Like now, when I like load film, I'm just like hyper aware of everything, you know, which I think
know.
is good. I needed to get humbled like that. Yeah, I was getting a
No.
little.
100%.
I don't know. I think my biggest challenges have just been, like, I've been doing more branding photography the last, like, I guess 2 years. And some of those branding shoots, like shooting for a juice place or a food place, like trying to kind of become like a food or product photographer is a really big challenge for me. Because
Yeah.
I love taking
You love
photos of
people,
people.
yeah,
Like, people
same.
is where the money is for me. I didn't even mean money literally. I meant money as in like passion and like creativity and where I think my best stuff is. But yeah, like when I have to take photos of inanimate objects, it's like it can be hard for me to, I don't know, to adapt to that because it's a lot more technical and a lot less personal. It's a lot less emotional. It's a lot more like there's criteria of what the client is looking for in that photo. So it's probably a good challenge, but it's a challenge to me to kind of work in those specific confines of like, I'm not trying to be overly creative here. I'm just trying to do exactly what is supposed to be done. Like take photos of this food that they could put on a menu.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels more like transactional than you're like making magic with like another like human being.
Sort of, but yes, I agree. But also I think that's where I grow a lot, and I take a lot of those skills back to other shoots too, because I have to learn how to use lighting in a different way.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and at least this last food photography shoot that I did, like the Pinterest board that I saw ahead of time, it was like it looked like it was a lot of flash photography. It was like that more vintage, like dark shadows with like a color backdrop and like a little blanket on the bottom. So because of that, I took the flash out and I did like the whole thing with flash. And I'm not a huge flash photographer, so just by doing that like random food photography shoot, like I learned more about like lighting and shooting with flash.
Yeah, honestly, I love shooting with flash. It's like one of
Yeah.
my favorite things to do now, especially like at sunset. And is so, I love it. I love flash so much, but it took me a while to love it because I think I just didn't know how to use it right. And so
Yeah.
I was forced by some paid project that like I needed to know how to do flash because it was going to be like all in a dark room. It's like, okay, I got to figure this out. And slowly I did, like from gig to gig like that. And now I feel very confident in like how I can achieve like a very like contrasted, like high fashion look
Totally.
with flash, you know?
It's funny how the mind works. Like, I feel like me, and I don't know if a lot of it, you can tell me if this was you too, but like before I really I only use the flash like when totally necessary. But I would say like, I'm like not super into the flash. Or like it's not really my stuff. But the truth is like, yeah, I just didn't
know how to use it.
Yeah, or
Same.
I just didn't have like an expertise around it, so I felt more comfortable not,
Yeah.
because I knew that I could achieve what I wanted to without it.
I didn't know how
you
it
know.
would fit into my style of photography.
Right.
Like I really didn't trust it. I was like, no, I like things to be like softer and
Yeah.
like more like raw looking. Like I don't like the like artificial looking. But then I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
no, this is really
Then you're
cool.
like, oh, it's like that discovery of, oh, it's not that it's not my style. It's that I actually haven't explored enough of using that or doing
Yep.
things a different way.
Yep.
Another thing that probably applies to like many creative pursuits.
Yeah.
And I think for that reason, like it's good to just do things the way that you don't do them, and it's uncomfortable. Like you might not know what the results are, but it'll certainly lead to growth.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, now that you like have that in your bag, like now you have so much more control
Right.
over what the photos look like.
Exactly.
And you just have more range to what is possible when people like hit you up for a photo shoot.
I love that. I love
Yo, if
talking
you're
about
in LA,
photography.
book Emma as a photographer.
Oh my God, yes. Please book me. And if you live in Charlotte, North Carolina, book Ben for a photographer. Or you have a website, right?
I do.
Okay,
It's,
we'll put it in the
we'll put it in the
description
show
and
notes.
your
Check
all
out
your
the
yeah.
show notes.
Yeah, the show
Subscribe.
notes.
You know, if you're on YouTube, smash that motherfucking like button.
I don't think have we not said how we met yet? I don't think so. Maybe
No.
let's end on how we met. I grew up in the same place as Ben and his brother. His brother Sam is in my grade and Ben was 2 grades below, but we never really talked or like hung out or anything like when we were both in high school together or middle school. We were probably in middle school together, right?
Probably.
Patapsco?
Yeah.
And we were in elementary school together too.
Hollyfield?
Yeah.
Yeah, why are we saying our
But we both ended up at the same college. We both went to Elon University. And one year, I guess I was a junior and you were a freshman. You asked me for a ride home for like Thanksgiving break or something. And I was like, yeah, sure, because where we live is very close. And yeah, I think it was in the first 6-hour car ride. And I think I took you back to school too that time. It was in these first like long car rides that I think we really we talked for the very first time. Like we had like conversations for the first time, and it was just I feel like with long road trips of somebody you don't know very well, it can go bad very fast when you realize like you don't have much to talk about, or like you don't have the same music tastes. Like a lot of things can go wrong. But I think we clicked like instantly. Like it was just, we got along so well. We had similar like beliefs and morals, and both very like open-minded, probably him more than me. And it was just the quickest 6-hour car ride ever because we talked to the whole time that it felt like no time at all, you know?
Yeah, good times. Thanks for the ride.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
That was great. And then yeah, like I said earlier, you know, like you moved out here after college, and you know, we just kind of stayed in touch mostly via
social media, Instagram, yeah,
photography stuff, and yeah, you know what's funny is that like I remember you talked to me about veganism for so like you were just as you were even more passionate about it
I was definitely more passionate when I
pretty
first.
fired up,
But,
you know,
oh
you were
my
pretty
god,
fired up.
I went through some angry couple of years.
Yeah, which is totally fair.
Yeah.
But I remember you talking all about it, and at the time I ate all kinds of meat, but I was very like open, like I respected vegans, and then over time, I'm like pretty vegan right now, Well, not eating dairy is more of like a necessity than a choice, I'm just like, that ain't working no more.
Right.
But yeah, it's like, I'm for the most part, I'm like vegan 5-6 days out of the week.
That's
So,
amazing.
very plant-based.
That's amazing,
And
Ben.
definitely that conversation with you, like you were very chill about it. You weren't like yelling, you weren't like screaming about veganism or anything. You were just like, I was curious. So I was probably asking, and you were talking about it because you had watched all the documentaries and you had like all the information about it.
Yeah, like facts on facts on facts.
So that was like a little seed. So yeah, it's nice when you have a long drive to have a good chill conversation partner.
Yeah, because that whole conversation can be like fully fleshed out.
Yeah, right. Like you can really explore that.
You can go back to it, like.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, shout out Elon University. Shout out Luke Murray.
Shout out Luke Murray. Yeah. So how we met Luke? We were talking earlier. He was like, "Oh, do you guys know Luke Murray?" And we're like, "Oh my god, yes, he's like one of our closest friends." We were just on the phone with him yesterday, and so he was your suite mate your freshman year at Elon. They were in the same class. But Julio and I did not know Luke at Elon. We were on our way to our friend's graduation party. She was graduating with her master's in poetry. And so we were going
That's
to
dope.
her place.
Let me just say,
oh my god,
that's
Danielle, she's been on the podcast. She's amazing.
Master's in poetry.
Yeah.
Shout out. What's her name?
I think it's called a MFA, Master of Fine Arts.
Cool.
In poetry.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Poetry is amazing. I think everybody should be writing poems. Like
Same.
you don't have to show them to anybody, but just like try writing a poem sometime.
Yeah,
you know?
poetry is so healing.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
yeah,
sorry.
No, it's a good point. And so we're walking up and we see like a couple guys like waiting outside of her apartment building too, and it's one that you can't just walk in, like you need like the code. So we're all just standing there, and then Luke turns around at us and was like, "Hey, like this is gonna sound weird, but were you at New York Bagel and Deli last Saturday morning in Mar Vista?" And we're like, yes. That was like right by our old apartment in Mar Vista. We used to go to this place to get bagels because they had vegan cream cheese. And it was funny because while we were there, Julio didn't say anything to me, but he did think in his mind like, oh, that person like looks kind of familiar, because he worked at like one of the main hangout spots on campus for students, the Oak House that was like half bar, half coffee shop. He saw like so many people, you know what I mean? Like people that he's like, he thinks he knows, but he's like, oh no, they were just like a customer, or like people think that they know him because they saw him so much at the Oak House. But anyways, Luke turned around and said that, and then we're like, yeah. And oh, sorry, Julio said that he thought he saw somebody that he knew at Elon. And so we're like, yeah. And then he was like, oh, I went to Elon. And then Julio was like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, I recognize you. And like, that's how we like met. And that was in 2021. And then we immediately became best friends. Like we hung out all the time. Luke came to every single one of Julio's band's shows, and we would hang out at Luke's place after. But yeah, unfortunately he moved. But fortunately he moved to a place that he really loves, New Orleans, and has an amazing girlfriend, and we're all very happy for him. Luckily, he is also from Maryland, so I see him when I go home for when we're both home for holidays.
Yeah, shout out Maryland.
But yeah, shout out Maryland. From Maryland to North Carolina, you stayed in North Carolina.
Yep.
And then now we're both currently in LA.
Is the last time I saw you like I feel like I haven't seen you potentially since college.
Yeah, because I don't think we've seen each other in Maryland at all.
No, I'm not. I'm like never in Maryland.
And fuck Maryland.
I don't go there anymore. Not for real though. No, so honestly, the last time I saw you might have been like 2017. Like it might have been like a good like 7 years ago. Isn't that crazy?
There's no way.
And we're out here in 2024 recording a podcast. You know, life is beautiful.
That life is
beautiful.
Retweet. But like I feel like that can't be right.
Time goes. Like I know, I agree, it seems weird.
That's 8 years.
Weird, but time goes. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like sometimes time just is moving.
And time is moving, and we've reached the end of our time here.
If you could end the show with one message that you would like everybody in the world to hear, it doesn't have to be profound, it could be simple, but what would you say? It could just be for today. What would you say?
I would say keep in touch with the people and support the people in your life who support you, and you can just tell like only want the best for you. And yeah, just make sure you keep in touch with those people, because those people are so rare. The people who want to be fans of their friends, it's pretty rare.
Support your friends, you know. That's what a beautiful gift to the world, to support your friends and root for them, and then they'll do it back to you, and it just creates so much good energy in the world. You know, so yeah, support your friends, be a fan of your friends, root for them, let them know you're in their corner, and that's how we create a loving world, you know.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Mic drop. All right, thank you so much, Ben. Thank you guys for chilling with us this week, and I'll put all of his links in the description where you can find him on. Oh, did that just happen?
I was just wondering that. So the background, if you're listening, there's a TV in the background, and when I walked in this morning, it had the NMGC logo on it. Like Emma was branded, ready to go. But right now it's just got the Roku on
it turns off after a while.
Okay.
But it's okay. It's okay. But anyways, thanks Ben for chilling with me. Thanks guys for chilling with us, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Love you.
Love you.
Nothing much, just a chillin'.